The learner was one combined school in Hartbeespoort rather. The learner was one of 4 pupils who were knocked down and rushed to the hospital last week. It's understood chaos broke out at the school after a group entered the premises and a fight broke out. It's alleged that they also wanted to take control of the school buses, and in a panic, one of the drivers sped off, knocking down 4 children. Gauteng Education Department spokesperson Steve Mabona says the learner died while receiving treatment at the Garangua Hospital.
We wish to convey our deepest condolences to the bereaved family, friends, classmates, and all in the school community. MEC did indicate that this saddening that such a chaotic incident led to unfortunate passing of a learner who just finished writing matric.
To KZN now, where search operations for 2 people washed away by floods are continuing after one body was recovered this morning. This comes as an alert for severe weather remains in place for KZN. The province has been hit by heavy rain with severe thunderstorms causing localized flooding. Nhlanhla Mabaso has more from KZN.
The body of the female who drowned was found in the Njasuti River. The inclement weather has left a trail of destruction and has destroyed some houses that appear to be newly built. Walls have cracked, windows broken, roofs blown off, and some trees have been uprooted along the way. Rescue teams remain on high alert while searching for 2 more missing people who have been washed away. Transport and Human Settlements MEC Sboniso Duma is also here assessing the extent of damage.
But we do want to adhere to the principle of saying that on the flat line, it is always dangerous, it is always scary. People must not build their structures around there. People must not build in the river frontage because it is causing problems.
Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, New Hanover.
At the same time, Johannesburg's emergency services is urging motorists to exercise caution as disruptive rains are expected to persist today. As of this morning, there have been no reports of major incidents resulting from the severe weather conditions. The South African Weather Service issued a level 4 and 5 weather warning for persistent thunderstorms. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulaudzi.
Extend the safe following distance and try and avoid crossing flooded roads and low-lying bridges. Our residents in our low-lying areas, especially our informal settlements, to continue to avoid crossing river streams while conducting daily activities.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has commended the country's successful hosting of the G20 Leaders Summit, saying it will cement South Africa's role in international affairs. Ramaphosa says the summit will also go a long way in supporting Africa as well as the country's own growth. Ramaphosa has been writing in his weekly newsletter following the conclusion of the 2-day summit yesterday. Babalondenze has more.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says with the Leaders Summit being held on African soil for the first time, this milestone will place Africa's growth and development at the heart of the G20's agenda. He says South Africa can only achieve its own objectives to create jobs in an environment of global stability, inclusive growth, and a level playing field. He told the closing ceremony of the summit yesterday that hosting the event will also place the continent and the global south in the forefront of development.
South Africa has used this presidency to place the priorities of Africa and the global south firmly at the heart of the G20 agenda.
Ramaphosa added that while some have sought to create division and polarization between nations, the summit has reinforced what he calls the shared humanity among member nations. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News.
And in Belgium, unions have kicked off their 3 days of demonstrations against government's proposed spending cuts and labour law changes. The next few days will see a phased-out approach, resulting in closed schools and disrupted train and air travel. The strike was called by the main Belgian unions, who are in a standoff with Prime Minister Bart de Wever. De Wever is trying to impose a major austerity effort through a series of unprecedented structural reforms. Only a small number of the measures proposed have been implemented so far, largely because of divisions within his 5-party coalition. Gold is trading at $4,069.80 an ounce. The rand is at 17.29 to the dollar, 22.64 to the pound, 19.94 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $62.56 a barrel.
Well, at this stage in the Calvin area, Alex, we still have those roadworks. This is on the N3 in both directions, causing delays between the Batuin to change, and London Road. Also in Alex, look out for those faulty traffic lights at London Road in the N3, as well as in Edenville at Morafontein Road in Van Riebeek.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng, along with showers and thunder showers. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: a grade 12 learner has succumbed to their injuries after being hit by a bus at the Schoenberg Combined School in Hartbeespoort.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Monday, the 24th of November. Guys, I'm in such a good mood because I finally made decisions about December and holiday plans. Me, I'm going to the ocean. Come hell or high water, I will be there. Now I'm in a good mood because at least I've made plans, and a lot of it is going to be just laying on the couch. And we'll talk about that soon. But today, I want to find out from all of you, what are the excuses that you have given to skip work? And maybe you can share the best excuse, and it worked. Tell us what that excuse was, the best excuse that you've given to skip work, and it worked. And I mean, maybe you just decided to tell the truth and say, "I'm phony," because I don't want. Whatever it is, let us know. Movies and what to stream. Adelaide Moyeng will join us, founder of Movies and Stuff. Please get through to us all of your movies, series, documentary recommendations that we can be catching up with. And don't forget to make your list so that you can catch up in December and be binge watching. Our travel feature, we'll be talking luxury hospitality in Africa, this being the next frontier of luxury travel. And guys, if you think that people are poor because of the economy globally, just know there are people who are still doing quite fine and quite well, and they do luxury travel properly. We'll be joined by Hamza Faruqi, founder and CEO of Millet Global. Second hour of the show, Parenting and Parents feature. We are talking about managing extended family dynamics. We know those can be complicated. We'll be joined by Ayanda Tetiana, who is family therapist and behavioral science consultant. And we wrap up with your science-related questions to Dr. Chris Smith. So get in touch with us. Give us a call, 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Okay, what is the best excuse that you have given to skip work? And I do know that there are many people who found themselves in situations where they say, I can't. I just, like, you don't feel like going, and it's not a legitimate reason. Let's assume that the excuse that you gave is not a legitimate reason and you used it and did it work. Let us know. Now, I recall a friend of mine who was telling the story of went out on a Thursday night and was just absolutely too hungover to go to work. So she messages the boss to say, and back then we didn't have WhatsApp, just for context. She messages the boss to say, I'm really not feeling well. I think I might even need to go to the doctor to take the day off. And the manager's like, no problem. Get well soon. And then she doesn't realize, she's not aware that she now is texting. She thinks she's updating us as friends to say, I called in sick, but damn, I'm so like hungover. I drank too much last night. But she accidentally sent that letter, that message to the manager, who then later, afterwards, the manager said nothing because she realized, oh my gosh, I accidentally sent this message to my manager. When she got to work, there was a printed out leave form that they made her fill out. So she could not get the benefit of whatever, and she ended up telling the boss the truth. I think I've just been in situations where I've just said like, yo, yeah, it's one of those days. I think it was the one time, it was day after my 20th birthday or 22nd birthday, and we went grooving, and the boss said to me, yeah, I can see and smell that you had a great time last night. Do these two things and then bounce, and they let me go early. But what have you done? What have you said? And has it worked for you? I want to hear from all of you. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
It's so fascinating, Director General, because, one of the things I've enjoyed doing is just study the language during these kind of discussions, because it's almost like every word matters, like the word you use, the comma, the full stop, because you need consensus. So one of the things I was really impressed by is how the summit has firmly placed the interests of the continent at the heart of conversations. Do you look at the declarations as South Africa and say, okay, we have achieved what we actually wanted to achieve out of this G20 summit?
Yes, every single one of South Africa's priorities was agreed. All of the priorities that we felt was important for us, but was also important for the African continent, was agreed to.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Here at Betway, we're finding every way possible to make sure you can win your next sports bet. With our new Bet Saver feature, you could get your stake back or more on bets with multiple losses. Stand to win, even when your bet misses. Bet Saver, exclusive to Betway. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
You've heard the songs, but until you've seen it live, you haven't experienced the magic of Cats. Coming to Monte Casino from 17 January until 22 February, it's the memory shared by millions. Book now with Web Tickets. Brought to you by Peter Turin and GWB Entertainment.
Scams are upgrading faster than your phone software, and Quishing, it's the latest update you don't want.
Quishing?
Fake QR codes that send you to unsafe sites. One scan, they've got your details.
I just scanned one at the airport.
Scanning random stickers in 2025. Brave move. Close that browser window. Scams can happen anywhere. Stay alert, and if you're unsure, contact ABSA on 0860 557 557. Protect your money. Protect your story. ABSA, your story matters. An authorized financial services provider.
Get online exclusive Black Friday deals for 3 days only at Pick n Pay ASAP and Mr. D. Get 200-gram Nescafe Gold Instant Coffee or 230-gram refill for only 140 Rand each. And 600-gram Parmalat cheese for only 84 Rand 99. Shop like a champion. Save like a champion. Only on Pick n Pay ASAP and Mr. D. Valid 24 to 26 November while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
702 and the Discam Foundation are shining the spotlight on the health matters you want to know more about. Here's what we explored this month.
What I've experienced working with young people is the massive lack of father figures is actually playing out in a specific way.
So where do we start?
The younger you can get these kids, the more easy and deceptive they are. Also, on the other side, in sports teams, there's always been this culture of initiation. If we have to look back in Moliton, with those boys. So it's almost like sick masculinity that just keeps on repeating itself. Hence, the boys are actually doing what they're doing. If we can get that out of teams, then we can actually nip it in the bud.
In Conversation on Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by the Discam Foundation, caring for the community on 702. Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
15 minutes to 1 o'clock, and we are chatting today about the excuses, maybe some of the best, that you have given to be able to miss work. But also, I think you need to tell us why you were missing work. Because if you're giving an excuse, it means the reason you're missing is not legitimate. Like, and then tell us if these excuses worked or not. And now that we're living in a time where you can actually ask for personal days, I've never ever had to claim a personal day, and I'm not sure what one says when they claim a personal day, if they need to explain how all of that works. I've never been in that space, but I have been working long enough for those things of like, oh, my mental health, or saying to your manager, oh, my cycle is this. Now I think you might be able to get away with that a lot more than what maybe 10, 15 years ago people were able to get away with. And maybe you pulled the dog ate my homework kind of a thing with your job. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. I'm going to start on Facebook. Stacy says, I'm not worried about nobody watching current or future employer. I made up a solid sob story about an imaginary friend that was going through the most and almost unalived themselves, as in took their own lives on the weekend. So their family asked me to try and talk them down so that they can get some help, because I was the only one that they would listen to. Next day, I came back refreshed. They still asked me, how's your friend doing? He's going to be okay. I said, rehab, and then they're sending him to stay with other family overseas. I got the weekend off for free. Guys, what an elaborate excuse. Maybe the excuse has to be elaborate for it to be believable. But some of you have killed your grandmother like more than 7 times to get off work. Ne? Some of you have killed aunts and uncles to get off work. Stacey, your story is so deep. Your story is elaborate and has got a lot of details. Pat says, a guy I worked with always used to say one of his family members died every Monday, and it works. So my boss started writing it down and told me, watch, he's going to run out of family members. Lol. Then a day came, he mentioned his uncle again. My boss took out the list, showed him, and I've been waiting for you to mention the same person twice. That is a lot. Pat Cabello says, I used to use my son as an excuse saying he's not well. That used to work for me. Guys, please don't mess up things for us other parents who don't use those excuses. Tony says, all your HRs are watching your responses and comments here. Elliot says, Relebogile, you want to get us in trouble? Our bosses are roaming around these streets. Ooh. And then Joni says, I've never pulled a sickie. I've always only called out of work when I was really sick, and then the whole day I felt so bad and stressed for calling out sick. That era is done, guys. That era is absolutely done. You must call sick because COVID and other things are happening. People have pre-existing conditions where they think it was just the flu, but then also there's something else serious in the background. You have to take your sick days. Hear your voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Good afternoon, Rele and the team. Can I just be anonymous? So I got injured at work and went and had an operation. I see when I don't feel like working, I just call through and say, Baba, it's not working today. In fact, what I plan, say, Abona, that day I'm not going. I will call the night before, or I'll get some pains during work and say I failed to wake up, guys. My operation is giving me tough times. Anonymous here from Johannesburg.
Anonymous. Hey. Yeah. More of your voice notes.
It's a good afternoon. Look, there's a guy I used to work with. Please keep me anonymous. There's a guy I used to work with. He was a good guy. We were buddies at work. And Yeah, he was a good guy, but he had a little bit of a drinking problem, you know. So yeah, his drinking got the better of him the one day, and then the people at work kind of picked up on the fact that he's a little bit inebriated. Fast forward, he gets a hearing. They ask him what's wrong, if he needs help, and then he says they ask him what's the issue. He says no. He caught his wife in bed with another man. On the spot, the guy got 2 weeks off with pay. Got 2 weeks off with pay, and then they're just like, go fix yourself up and whatever. And mind you, he didn't even have a wife at the time.
Guys. Okay, here's a question for everybody. Are some of you not afraid that like you're manifesting these things happening in your life? Yeah? Like to say somebody that you know has died, but they haven't died. Aren't you scared it's gonna happen? Or to say, I caught my wife in bed with another man. You're not married. Like, what if that happens in real life to you? I just feel like it's manifesting and attracting certain things. Another one of your voice notes.
Hi, Relebogile. Hope you guys are having a great afternoon. My excuse, I would like to remain anonymous. Because my excuse, I always say I have a runny tummy or some form of diarrhea. And it's mostly for a day. And I always say that because, a stomach bug isn't something you go to the doctor for, It's something that doesn't really need a doctor's note. It's something that appears suddenly, and I normally use that excuse when I'm really, really exhausted. Like, I just want a day off to just sleep all day in and not, use my leave days. Can't be using leave days for, especially when I'm tired because of work. That's what I do.
Some of your messages, Relebogile. Our company does not have the whole formal leave days. So I have used every excuse out of the sun to not go to work for no reason. My bests are, I send a message that I was locked inside the house so I couldn't leave, that our stove has burnt down, so I have to wait for the electrician in case the house burns down. One time, I claimed we didn't have water for 3 days, so it wasn't sanitary anymore for me to go to work. Did my boss not pass by our building to ask if it was true? But anyways, I have a new baby, and boy, oh boy, have I gained new excuses. Guys, is the issue that your managers maybe are just not receptive to certain things? Because I feel like some people really should be able to say, I can't today, but that deadline, I'm still going to make it. If the output is still going to get done, then it should be fine. Another person says, Lebo, extended family members reset when you change employer. When you change employers. So when you move to a new job, the grandparents, all 4 grandparents are there, all uncles and aunts are there, so you can keep saying, Sbani Bani died. I see you. Hi, Relebogile. As I'm talking, I'm at work and I'm very, very tired, but I came to work. You know this thing called guilty conscience? I have a very, very strong one, and when I lie, I'll be blaming myself the whole day. Maybe it's not lying. Maybe it's manipulating the truth a little bit. I don't know. And I also have heard of people who say they would rather show up or what they do, similar to the previous caller who said, you need to start feeling the symptoms the day before, right? So they call it you soft launching your cough at work so that tomorrow when you say, I'm not well, they're like, yeah, wait, and Abel can say, and she was coughing. So you see people sitting in offices and the person's just like, and then the next day you go and say that thing that you were saying. Others say rather show up and leave early so that they can see you did come in and you don't have to take out leave. Lebo, my dog didn't like doggy daycare. One day the daycare called me to say that he was sitting on the balcony in the rain and wouldn't come inside. I went to my boss and told her I needed to leave immediately. It was a genuine excuse. I was waiting for her to say no because I would have pulled out the discrimination card and would have told her no one would bat an eyelid if it was a human child at creche. I got permission to leave. ma'am or sir, I don't know what to comment here, because you were going to say discrimination, that a person could leave for their human child at creche, and it's the same as going to your dog at daycare. Guys, I also have a dog, ne? But what? I'm so confused. Doggy daycare and my child at creche. Look, and hear me out. I'm not saying you should not be let off to go tend to your dog at doggy daycare. But I'm confused that you're equating it to a human baby at creche. A human child. Guys, Lynn says, guys, don't forget HR is watching. Don't fumble those Christmas bonuses. Tepiso says, where do you guys work where you have to use tricks to get a day off? Good question. But maybe sometimes you're just overwhelmed and you can't say. I don't know. I'm assuming that people work in situations where you are able to just be open about the fact that, hey, I'm not okay today. Or I don't know. Maybe it also depends on the industry. The complication with, let's say, as a radio broadcaster of taking off work is that somebody has to fill in for you. It's not like the station is going to be on silent for 2 hours. So it's a bit complicated in my line of work in how soon I communicate and if I'm going to take off. And because I understand how complicated it is, I do sometimes come in not feeling well. Because it happens. Where during a broadcast, I'm like, I am literally deteriorating. On the WhatsApp line, one message says, guys, don't lie about your kids and using sick leave. One day you will need it for real, is what they say. Another person says, I had a holiday planned with friends for December. I told my boss I want a holiday and had to go. What jobs are you guys in? That, yes, you're right, actually. Where's everybody working that you need to make these excuses and tell these tricks to get off work? Okay. Another person, Sipelele, says, I said to my manager, I was sick. That time I was broke and didn't have money for petrol. Because I told her I was broke and I won't afford a doctor, she said I must go to a clinic and provide proof. Upon assessments, nurses asked I got there, I said I walked. Long story short, I was admitted and put on drips until the next day. You see now, why are we complicating our lives? But the part about not being able to go to work because you're broke, that's legit. That is something super, super legitimate. Another message says, it's actually disgraceful how these people treat their work. They don't deserve a job. I mean, I wouldn't say people don't deserve a job to that unsigned message. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, but to say people don't deserve a job, guys, we are very grateful to have jobs. But even in having a job, you can have a legitimate reason that maybe is not seen as legitimate to not go to work. Anonymous here. I was working for a company that was really into themed parties and games where you had to rent costumes for every event. I got tired of it, especially the idea of spending another 3 nights in the Drakensberg for the umpteenth time. So I came up with the excuse that I had measles. I knew they couldn't ask me to travel since I'd be contagious and could potentially infect others. Plus, unlike chickenpox, measles don't have to leave visible scars, so I wouldn't have any signs to show that I had been sick. Good day, Lebza. As long as I'm black in South Africa, no way I'm running out of family members who've met their demise as an excuse to bunk work. If my grandmother from my mother's side has 8 sisters, I have 9 grandmothers in my life. And grandfathers, uncles, aunts, the funerals go on Jobe Soprano. So just take my word for it, is what they say. My aunt planned with her friend a week before for her friend to call my aunt's workplace and say her mom has passed away. Well, Rakhadi forgot the plan and Mgani called. Hey, my aunt cried for real. Guys. Please,
Talk about a plan gone wrong.
So, no, but guys, why do you want to fictionally kill your own mother? Like, why do you want to fictionally kill your own mother? No. This girl lied about not coming to work, but she was coming for an interview just to meet her boss interviewing for the same position. Last one. As HR, I've had to dismiss a person for claiming to have COVID when they were living it up and partying on Instagram. You see? You see, guys. It's just after 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. A grade 12 learner has succumbed to their injuries after being hit by a bus at the Schoenberg Combined School in Hartbeespoort. The learner was one of 4 pupils who were knocked down and rushed to the hospital last week. It's understood chaos broke out at the school after a group entered the premises and a fight broke out. The Johannesburg Emergency Service has warned faith-based organizations against visiting rivers and streams for rituals with more heavy rain expected. The South African Weather Service has issued several warnings for inclement weather in parts of the country. Authorities have warned that in some parts of Johannesburg, the severe weather conditions could lead to flooding. And NPA boss Shamila Batoyi has been pressed by the panel hearing the inquiry into Joburg prosecution's head Andrew Chauke to back her allegations against him. Batoyi is back on the witness stand in Pretoria today. The inquiry is investigating allegations by Batoyi that Chauke made politically motivated prosecutorial decisions. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in the Alex Calvin area, we still have those roadworks causing delays on the N3 in both directions between the Butloons Change and London Road. Otherwise, the rest of 702 land free-flowing. No serious accidents have been reported at this stage. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights in Edenville at Morafontein Road and Van Riebeek, as well as in Linksfield at Linksfield Road and the N3. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
How well did South Africa do, not only, I suppose, this past weekend, but indeed throughout its year of its G20 presidency?
Well, South Africa has done very well, Bongani, taking it from the Brazilian presidents, the social summit, really bring to the fore a lot of groups that have big interests. What I think it should have been done also was to lift up the Gen Z with a new phenomenon in world politics, to have a say in this kind of forum.
Dr. Kingsley Makubela.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
The magical memory of cats lingers long after the final curtain in 2017. South African audiences still fondly recall Peter Torin's previous stage productions of Andrew Lloyd Webber's timeless masterpiece. Now, Cats returns to enchant a whole new generation, brought to you by Peter Torin and GWB Productions in association with the Cape Town Opera. Cats pounces onto stage at the Teatro at Monte Cassino on Saturday, the 17th of January. The best of Joburg is about to get a whole lot better. Starring an all-new world-class South African cast, Cats is packed with show-stopping choreography, dazzling costumes, and unforgettable tunes, including the anthem, Memory. Fall in love with T.S. Eliot's magical Mr. Mistopheles and be wowed by the mysterious McCavity along with all other favorite Chesil cats, seen by over 77 million people worldwide and having scooped every single Best Musical Award from the West End to Broadway. Cats is the perfect show for the whole family this festive season. Let the memory live again. Get your tickets today at webtickets.co.za.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Aziz Shege. Be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
702 Movies.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock, time for movies and what to stream with founder of Movies and Stuff SA. Find them on the socials. Adelaide Moyeng. 011-883-0702 in the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702 for all your movies, series, documentary, any genre of things that you'd like to recommend or send your reviews that you want to say watch this or don't watch this at all. Adelaide, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I am good, my darling.
I'm good. I've been listening. Hey, guys.
To the excuses.
Lariska, wait.
Listen.
Wow.
Listen, apparently some anonymous was saying in Kempton Park that, do you remember the story of the EFF person who claimed to be sick and then appeared on TV toing and he got in trouble with his HR?
But it was worth it. The cause was worth it.
Honestly. But like, why do you need to lie?
I've lied before, but if I'm being honest, it was because I had a job interview and where I was at the time was not great. And yeah, that was the only way I could go.
Because you can't say, can I take off to go interview for a job? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, other than that, I've always just pushed through, sick or not. Usually I just push it, but I haven't. The excuses I'm hearing today also, thank you for the ideas.
It's a lot.
Thank you for the ideas.
What are we starting with today?
Okay, so we're starting off with a show that I'm not sure a lot of people are familiar with, but that is why I'm here. I want to introduce you guys to new things. And there's a show called Slow Horses. It's actually been out since 2022, but currently it's on its 5th season. It's kind of like a dark horse that people don't really know about. And maybe it's because it's on Apple TV, but that is not necessarily a bad thing, because I'm telling you all of this because I heard that there's a special that's happening at the moment for those who want to get into it, where the normal price is like 124 Rand, but now it's like 59 Rand for 6 months. And so Slow Horses is one of the shows that I got into. Yes, I did go for the special. That's why I know about all of this. But essentially, Slow Horses is a spy thriller, spy drama, and it's being led by Gary Oldman, that a lot of people would know of from Harry Potter. He played Sirius Black, which I adored. I think obviously one of his best work is when he played Winston Churchill, which we all know about as well. And essentially he leads a team of MI5 agents, and they essentially prevent terrorist threats and attacks in their government. Obviously it is based in the UK. And so essentially what they do is all the things that you don't know about that happen, espionage, government issues, but obviously they're not doing things the right way. They're going against protocol, but it's so like intelligently written, and the ways that they navigate how to go about as a team is something that's quite refreshing, and it's just so interesting. I think I really loved it. I've started binging it. I'm already on like episode, I'd say 3, obviously, but there's 5 seasons to go still. So for you to want to get into something to obviously watch coming into December, I think it would be great, because then you've got at least 5 seasons to go going into December. So that's definitely one of the shows that I think people would really, really love. Season 5 actually launched in October. So once you get to it, you will basically be on par with everybody else.
And it's nice to also start a series which has like quite a long, way to go. Then you're excited for something.
Yeah, you can binge properly. Like I'm stuck on this other show called Dynamite Kiss. It's this beautiful K-drama that's just so swoon-worthy. It's so good that I'm having to now like wait, but it drops every week and I'm just like, what is this? I think we've been spoon-fed to such a point where waiting just feels like punishment at this point. So it's good to know that when you start a show, there's at least 4 or 5 seasons for you to just catch up and have a good
Yes.
time.
Okay, then we also have Eternity.
Oh, Eternity is actually this lovely, so cute. It's like a drama, but also a comedy as well. It's this very lovely concept of a film. It's actually coming out on the 28th of November in cinemas first. It also got some really good critically acclaimed reviews at TIFF as well. And it's about a lady who, unfortunately, she passes away and she goes to heaven. And so in this constructed heaven, you can actually find a job that you would like to do for eternity. But when she gets there, she actually finds her first husband who passed away like when they were very young, and he's been waiting for her for all of eternity. But obviously, when her husband passed away, she remarried. And so
Yes.
now she's there, he's there, but then her second husband shows up while she's there as well. And while you're there, you have to choose between one of the two. You have to choose who you're going to spend eternity with. So now she's having to choose between her first husband and her second husband to see who she's going to choose to spend eternity with. It's actually being led by Elizabeth Olsen, who we all know as Wanda as well. It also has Coleman Turner from Masters of Air. Really great. I love that he's also moving into some rom-coms as well as Mila Teller, who we all know from Top Gun Maverick. And I don't know, the trailer just got me. It's got this lovely old school rom-com vibe about it. It's almost like a while you were sleeping kind of nostalgic.
Why does it
feeling
sound
to it.
like Bridget Jones's Diary, where she had to pick between Mr. Darcy and who's the other one?
Yes, but this time it's for eternity. See,
Yes.
the risk is higher now. It's like you cannot choose between one or the other and decide, actually, you know what, it's not working, I'm going to move
Yeah.
on. No, the rules are that you have to choose that one person. And also
that's
both
it.
of them have to now try and get her to fall in love with them, to convince her that, please pick me for once. The men have to be the pick-me's in this movie. It's not the other way around.
I see. Okay, that sounds like an interesting one. Then
Right.
we've got Juror 2.
So Juror 2 is actually a film that came out last year, but this year it is on Showmax. And like I said, Showmax is doing such a good job with getting us these exclusive films that came out, and maybe you missed out because obviously going to the cinema is a privilege and a luxury. However, Juror 2 is actually a film that's been directed by Clint Eastwood. It's actually his last directorial film that he's doing. He's done now. This was his last. Yeah, that's the thing.
He said he's retiring.
He's done. People actually, I think maybe that's why this film was so significant for him. It's because it was his last film that he actually directed. And so it stars Nicholas Hoult, which I think a lot of people will know him from Superman latest. He was playing Lex Luthor. And essentially, he's a juror in a murder trial. And he's struggling with a moral dilemma of the fact that he kind of knows a lot more about this case. It kind of sounds familiar to what he might have gone through within the same time where the crime happened. And so he's having to try and navigate between being a proper juror. Obviously, you need to stand, obviously listen to the trial and make a decision. But also, he's been compromised because he knows more than anybody else on the actual jurors, I believe.
Jury panel.
Thank you, jury panel. And so in that, he now has to decide what he's going to do. Like I said, it's a really good film. It's also a legal drama. And I think we go through the psychological woes of him having to decide what he's going to do in terms of being a juror. Is he going to do his lawful duty, or is he going to try and actually tell the truth? The trailer is really, really awesome. For those who've seen it, you obviously know that it's good. But for those who haven't, it is on Showmax. And so far, so good in terms of review-wise. And like I said, it's Clint Eastwood's last film. You know,
and
that
of
he
course, the
directed.
cast of Toni Collette and
Yes.
Kiefer Sutherland. It sounds like one we all definitely must check out. And then finally, we have The Girlfriend.
Right, The Girlfriend is also another psychological thriller. There's a lot of psychological shows that are coming out this year. And the theme that I'm gathering is the relationships between boy moms and their future girlfriends. So essentially in The Girlfriend, a mom gets visited by her son, but he obviously brings his brand new girlfriend, which is nothing new. But there's something about this new girlfriend that the mom doesn't necessarily like, but her son is so in love with this new girlfriend. But it gets a bit creepy at some point because now she's trying to find out, why is this girl acting the way that she does? And I think it's cool because they kind of analyze the psychological relationships that certain moms have with their sons, where they overanalyze some of their life choices.
Other boy moms.
Ish.
Guys, when I say, actually, I must just refer to myself, I'm mother to a boy or I have a son. But when people say, I'm a boy mom,
it's cringe,
I
isn't
didn't
it?
know love until I met my son.
It's
and then they've got
cringe.
like 3 daughters. You're like, ma'am.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
it. Hey, yeah, it's a very weird it's a weird relationship. I like that they're putting a spotlight on it, but in such a way that we're getting it from the mother's perspective. So I think in this TV series, and also there's like a huge plot twist, but definitely watch it as well. But like I said, I like the fact that they're giving it to us from the perspective of the mother.
Yes.
In that you do want to protect your child, but also you need to sort of let them go because he's like a grown man. He's not like a teen or whatever. But also, if you did see that and you see that your son is in a compromising relationship, what are you going to do about it? What can you do about it?
Yeah, you've given us a lineup of interesting things to watch. Slow Horses, Eternity, Juror 2, and The Girlfriend. Adelaide Moyeng, make sure you follow her on Movies and Stuff SA.
My bro, just left Discam and I can confidently say I found the perfect spot for Black Friday. Yo, all the deals, all the feels, yeah, all in one place. This new Discam Better Rewards card, brilliant. You can save big time on over 140 Better Rewards brands. That's 10% off instantly on top of promo prices. Do yourself a favor, become a member, fill your basket, and make that amazing deals till slip longer than Ikuyase Home Affairs. Anyways, catch you later, bro. Black Friday just got lacquer.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
South Africa is taking its place on the world stage at the B20 and G20 Summit 2025. Telkom is proud to stand with the nation, building a digital future that reaches every community. Through reliable fiber, mobile, and cloud networks, Telkom is connecting families, small businesses, and young people to new opportunities. They're helping drive digital public infrastructure so services are easier to access for all. Telkom, the digital backbone of South Africa's future.
702.
Travel.
12 minutes to 2 o'clock in our travel feature for today. We are talking luxury hospitality in Africa, and we are joined by Hamza Faruqi, who is founder and CEO of Millet Global. Hamza, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Lebo, thank you for having me.
Hamza, please tell us what qualifies as luxury hospitality in your view, because you know, you will think that you've experienced 5-star in a country and then you go to another country and 5-star is something else. And then you'll even discover there's 7 stars.
You'll be pleased to know that I think generally the definition of luxury is changing and evolving. And I think it probably is summed up by a very simple thing. Today, it's no longer about the marble or the golden tap. Customers can't take that, right? It's actually about the emotional connection with the people. What people take back is how they were treated. What people take back is how they were made to feel. And that's luxury, that human connection, that humanness, which fortunately Africa has a lot to offer. And I think that's the fine line. So people aren't anymore about the bling. They aren't anymore about, over the top, just sort of gold and platinum. It's actually about how did we make people feel. And
Oh.
that care, that empathy is what makes the difference.
And I think also, Hamza, from what I am seeing that people, with TikTok and Instagram, we get to see a lot more of what people have. You didn't have to go to the bookstore and buy a travel magazine, to be able to see. But what I'm seeing is people enjoy interesting experiences as well.
So it's the proliferation of the internet and the digital age has helped. We also have a young generation today which isn't under the pressure of having to buy a house or buy a car, right? The general consumption toward product is actually less, and the consumption is towards around service, which means travel is just becoming such an essential component. And more younger South Africans and people in many parts of the world are spending more of their disposable income to travel, because it's making them think through what really matters in life. It makes them think through what really gives them a sense of purpose. And I think travel as a part of that wallet is becoming a lot more essential. And I think South Africans are certainly no exception to that.
I actually just happened to see a guy this morning that was saying he doesn't want to save money to buy a house. He wants, every time he's saving money, it's to go on holiday, to see new places, to have new experiences. So what you're saying is completely resonating with where many people are at the moment, is they want to put their money away for travel. So why would you say then that Africa is at a crossroads in the context of this conversation?
So I think I am obviously a little biased because I am patriotically South African, but I do live outside of this country, and I've spent a lot of time traveling the world. I spend a lot of time, and I can tell you one thing with a lot of conviction, that what Africa provides today, and we can start with a very simple thing of fresh produce ingredient supply chain. Very few parts of the world actually can do what Africa can provide in terms of weather. And I think it's a very simple thing, right? The genuineness of the people. Now, yes, it needs to be curated. Yes, it needs to be trained. And yes, there's a whole host of challenges around what sits in that ecosystem. But if you look at the rest of the world today, America today, try opening up a food and beverage restaurant in the heart of New York. You won't be able to do that because of labor union issues. Try going into Europe and try and getting anything meaningful done from a service level perspective. And I think what Africa presents is a very meaningful young population which wants to serve, a young population which has a general hospitable demeanor. Now, can that demeanor be curated more meaningfully? Can it be better nurtured? Can it be better trained? Absolutely. And that's the role that corporate South Africa and institutions like ourselves have. But I think what Africa provides is a very young population with that canvas. And the rest of the world is taking notice. Africa is no longer about just the safari experiential. It's a place to live. It's a place to experience. And I think, God's very special grace truly descends on Africa. And I'm a firm believer of that.
Can you please highlight, 3 or 4 countries that you think are really on the up and up when it comes to luxury travel? I mean, we are quite familiar with luxury travel when it comes to Cape Town, for example, in South Africa, and places like Limpopo where you have these amazing lodges. But there are many other places on the continent that people are yet to explore.
So I think if you look at, Southern Africa, I'm still of the view that Johannesburg is a very low-hanging fruit, right? If you look at where the infrastructure is sitting in Johannesburg, there is a need to do something different in Johannesburg. This is the economic powerhouse. It's one of the reasons why we opened a Park Hyatt in the heart of Johannesburg, because at the end of the day, you've got to make luxury work also in places which aren't straightforward. I think Cape Town has had its fair share of easy luxury because there's a large list of international tourists. I think safari generally works very well. For me, Johannesburg provides a great canvas and opportunity set. For family, Johannesburg still is limited in terms of options and what they can do on weekend. Dining choices are still becoming more and more limiting. So I think that has to change, and I see a huge opportunity set for what Johannesburg and that ecosystem can genuinely provide. And yes, there is a layer of safety, right, which forms part of a much broader South Africa Inc. Question. But certainly Johannesburg, what it provides, is a very compelling part. And I think there's the spend there. And I think if you look at the rest of where you start looking in the surrounding areas in South Africa, there's a huge amount of diversity which sits. I think KZN is a very, very important driver, because remember something. When your locals travel, when the domestic market has resilience, you can attract the international market. If you're a country when your locals don't travel, then you aren't going to build a travel ecosystem. And South Africa is blessed with an ecosystem where December, Durban, KZN, these areas all become very important drivers. So I think we've got a very robust network in this country. I think if you look beyond this continent, you've certainly got East Africa. Tanzania is becoming incredibly compelling. But I think, equally you've got Zimbabwe, Vic Falls. And that, again, is where, as a long-haul destination, if you start attracting and connecting those dots, if you start thinking in a Southern African scenario, you'll be able to compete a lot more favorably with that tourist pocket pool which sits in Europe and other parts of the world. And I'm hoping we as Africans start thinking in that way and in that manner.
I think another thing, of course, is everybody has always been thinking about Africa as safari. We're going to safari, but there's so much more to offer. So what do you believe is next?
So I think where safari will be a great base, but where I think Africa offers itself naturally is into wellness, right? The capability to actually be in great outdoors, the capability to actually experience great wellness product. This younger generation is spending the money in two areas, right? It's about travel and it's about how they look after themselves. And I think what Africa can provide is that wellness component. Again, the traveler today into the hotel space isn't going and measuring the quality of the gym and the treadmill. He's actually worried about being in a good outdoor weather climate. All of those things are becoming more and more compelling for the consumer of today. And I think Africa provides for that. I also think what's going to become more important is how Africa starts to see itself as a provider of travel to the rest of the world. And if you look at the numbers, in the next 30 odd years, as this younger generation proliferates, they're going to travel to the rest of the world. And Africa will be an important demand driver in many buckets. And it stands for today. If you look at where airline lift today sits in South Africa, it's the Middle East and GCC carriers who are taking travelers from South Africa to the rest of the world. So I think those data sets are going to become more and more pronounced, more and more developed, and more meaningful for our economies.
Final thoughts for all our listeners, Hamza?
I think I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Travel and leisure is going to be the next growth frontier. And if there's one sector which is going to create the jobs and deal with the issues that South Africa needs as a country, is going to be travel and leisure. The challenge is going to be execution and getting it done. And I think that's where the biggest challenge is going to be in the coming months and years ahead.
But what's absolutely wonderful is there's plenty of opportunity. Hamza, thank you so much for your time.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
One body has been recovered from a river in KwaZulu-Natal as a search for two more missing people continues. The victims were washed away yesterday during floods in New Hanover in the Midlands.
The teams are working to recover one body, that of a female, that is entrapped in the river. The MEC for Kokta, Reverend Tlasizi Buthelezi, has assured residents that disaster management teams will work right throughout the clock to ensure that those that are missing are recovered.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
If you want a versatile SUV that's smart, efficient, and seriously advanced, meet the all-new BYD Scion 5 plug-in hybrid. It's the affordable SUV that gives electric power for your everyday trips, fuel-powered backup for your longer drives, and premium tech everywhere you look. The BYD Scion 5 is packed with cutting-edge technology, from advanced driver assist safety features to the groundbreaking DMI technology. The BYD Scion 5 makes every drive smarter. Visit www.byd.com and pre-book your test drive today. BYD,
build your dreams.
To celebrate 25 years of helping you live the Premier life, FNB Premier is giving you a chance to win a 14-day European tour experience and other cool monthly prizes. Open any FNB Premier account from September to 31 December 2025. Switch your salary, swipe or tap a minimum of 2,000 Rand per month for 3 months straight. Spend and win with FNB Premier. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and competition rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Do you suffer from heartburn and hyperacidity? To relieve heartburn for the whole day and night with one tablet, a potent once-a-day treatment which was previously prescription only is now available over the counter. Ask your pharmacist for an over-the-counter, long-lasting heartburn treatment. Brought to you by Sandoz.
In the next hour of the show, we have our parenting and parents feature. We're talking managing extended family dynamics. And then we take all your science-related questions, get them in early. It's 2 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. NPA boss Shamila Batoyi has been pressed by the panel hearing an inquiry into Joburg prosecution's head, Andrew Chauke, to back her allegations against him. Batoyi is back on the witness stand in Pretoria today. The inquiry is investigating allegations by Batoyi that Chauke made politically motivated prosecutorial decisions. President Cyril Ramaphosa suspended Chauke in July and then established this inquiry. Khomotso Modise reports.
From last week, the chair of the inquiry into Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office, retired Justice Beson Kabinde, asked that the inquiry be mindful of its terms of reference and sticks to them. Today, while NPA head Shamila Batoyi has been testifying, Kabinde has been vocal, asking that the evidence Batoyi gives speaks to the terms of reference and the allegations that she's made against Chauke.
Because it doesn't appear that we have really gone to the crux of the matter to understand the illegality or the unlawfulness of his conduct, if any.
According to Batoyi, Chauke undermined or attempted to undermine the authority of then acting Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions in KZN, Advocate Cyril Mlodra, when he led a team of prosecutors which was investigating former KZN Hawks boss Johan Boysen and his Cato Manor organised crime unit. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News.
A grade 12 learner has succumbed to their injuries after being hit by a bus at the Schoenberg Combined School in Hartbeespoort. The learner was one of 4 pupils who were knocked down and rushed to the hospital last week. It's understood chaos broke out at the school after a group entered the premises and a fight broke out. It's alleged they also wanted to take control of the school buses, and in a panic, one of the drivers sped off, knocking down 4 children in the process. Gauteng Education Department spokesperson Steve Mabona says the learner died while receiving treatment at the Garangua Hospital.
We wish to convey our deepest condolences to the bereaved family, friends, classmates and all in the school community. MEC did indicate this saddening that such a chaotic incident led to unfortunate passing of a learner who just finished writing matric.
The Johannesburg Emergency Service has warned faith-based organizations against visiting rivers and streams for traditional rituals with more heavy rain expected. The South African Weather Service has issued several warnings for inclement weather in parts of the country this week. Authorities have warned that in some parts of Johannesburg, the severe weather conditions could lead to flooding. EMS officials say residents should avoid conducting baptism and cleansing rituals at this time because the water levels are high, increasing the risk of being swept away. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulaudzi.
From our side as a City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services, together with our disaster management monitoring teams, our aquatic rescue unit, we still remain on high alert, monitoring all 7 regions of the city for any emergencies.
To this now, Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille says domestic tourism continues to see a resurgence as the sector looks inward. De Lille's optimism about the sector's recovery follows an uptick with more than 1 million visitors compared to the same period in 2024. This includes promising figures for domestic tourists. Speaking on the sidelines of the final day of the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg yesterday, de Lille vowed to ensure an aggressive push to attract more locals to the country's tourist destinations.
Well, what we do is that, especially for domestic tourism, is accessibility and affordability. We know the cost of living is very high in South Africa. So we partnered with the private sector to make it more affordable for domestic tourism. So we continue to work together on the affordability.
And in the Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky has held talks in Geneva with the US over an end to the war with Russia. Ukrainian, American and European officials met in Switzerland yesterday after a US proposal to end the conflict. It's been nearly 4 years since Russia invaded the Ukraine. EU leaders are expected to hold emergency Ukraine talks on the sidelines of a summit in Angola later today. Meanwhile, the Kremlin says it is yet to receive information from the Ukraine peace talks in Geneva. It also says there are no plans for Russian and US delegations to meet this week. Gold is trading at $4,069.80 an ounce. The rand is at 17.29 to the dollar, 22.64 to the pound, 19.94 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $62.56 a barrel.
Calvin Alex roadworks still causing heavy delays on the N3 in both directions between the Butler Interchange and London Road, and in the Bedfordview area. Heading towards Germiston, traffic sluggish. N3 south between the Kilulis Interchange and Galdenes.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng, along with showers and thundershowers in some parts. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. NPA boss Shamila Batoy has been pressed by the panel hearing an inquiry into Johannesburg prosecution's head Andrew Chauke to back the allegations she has made against him.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 2 o'clock, it is the second and final hour of 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, and we're going to be jumping into our parenting and parents feature. We're going to be talking about something today, particularly around parenting your kids, managing extended family dynamics. And I'm sure many of you have those experiences where you have to watch uncles, aunts, grandparents for the different ways that you choose to raise your child. We'll be joined by Ayanda Tetiana, family therapist and behavioral science consultant. And then we wrap up with the Naked Scientist with Dr. Chris Smith, who will come through to take all of your science-related questions in our Naked Scientist feature. So get in touch with us. 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
Parenting and parents time, and I'm sure many of you have dealt with situations where you have to manage extended family dynamics when it comes to raising your child and how you choose to raise your child. Your calls on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We're joined by Ayanda Tetiana, who is family therapist and behavioral science consultant. Ayanda, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Rele, and hi to all the listeners.
Thank you so much, Ayanda. It is very, very tricky in the era we're living in, where now information is fully available with how you choose to raise your child, as opposed to you're going to move in, stay with your mom and she's going to tell you all the things that she was told and raise your child that way. Now, we question things and we see, hey, actually that thing that Gogo told me is actually not accurate?
Oh, that's very interesting because firstly we have exposure to all this new information. You know, I remember the other day I was telling my children that, you know, back in the day when I was a child, when there was a thunderstorm, we all had to sit down on the floor. No one was allowed to move, you know?
Yes.
And over generational differences, there's so many cultural differences and we have to navigate those. So it's usually very important though to understand that there is a beautiful value that we can get from having beautiful connection across extended family. There's a huge social benefit, but sometimes as parents, then we have to manage and have better tools to communicate some of the boundaries, to communicate what are our actual values when it comes to how the extended family actually contributes to us and what is my idea of raising my children, you know. So managing that requires us as parents to actually have some tools and be very intentional about communicating those, because more than anything else, the family system is meant to be a system of influence. But if there's chaos there, then everything just goes sideways.
Definitely. And I'm even thinking a little bit, you know, from what you said of deciding your values and then how you communicate it. But sometimes you only know as time is going on. It's not like you're going to have all the answers. Sometimes as you get to something, you're like, I don't think I like that. Actually, and now you need to sort of communicate and sometimes be that firm person who has to say, yay, you're not visiting those people anymore.
Yeah, that's very important. We have to be very adaptive. We have to be responsive. And in all of that, then that's where the communication is very important. You know, instead of having a full-on confrontational while all the children are there. I mean, a lot of us are going to experience this during these holidays. Being able to know how to pull people to the side and say, hey, I don't necessarily like that. I'm thinking about things that usually happen in family gatherings. Something like, oh, maybe you've gained too much weight, body shaming. There's a whole lot of little cultural things that happen that in many instances they hurt us so much. And then maybe when it's happening, the aunt is doing it to your child, then it just hits you that, I really don't like that. It's not nice. But even in that instance, how I then communicate that, say to the extended family, to blended family, is to be able to pull them aside and say, hey, you know what? When it comes to certain conversations, please, I do not appreciate it when you have it like that with my children, you know, and but still being respectful and still modeling to our children how to navigate complicated relationships.
Let's kick off with the one that I think is possibly on the more sensitive side, and that's around culture and the fact that certain things were always done. And I know, for example, with my son, there's certain things where I basically said to my parents, if you can't tell me why we're doing this, we're not doing it. Like, unless I feel within me. And fortunately, I have great relationships with my parents. It's a different thing when now it comes to extended families. But let's start with culture, where it can be very tricky of like how around this time, not X, Y, and Z. And now you need to communicate to extended family who are possibly elders. They might not be in your day-to-day life, but they take their role very, very seriously.
Yeah, so now you're talking about that whole old survival parenting meets the modern science. And maybe another example I can just add to that is, you know, some of us as parents, if they call it gentle parent, positive parenting, you know, we are going to be more intentional about having conversations with our children. And then our children will talk back to us to a certain extent, okay? And then obviously the extended family or the older people may look at that and be like, that's so disrespectful. You know, we never used to talk to our parents like that. And then when you're looking at it from a modern parenting perspective, the research shows that if you allow your child to have a voice from the youngest age, as they grow older, they will always be comfortable. They'll always know what they like, what they don't like. It's going to be visible when they're out with their own peers. It's going to be very visible in their relationships later on. And in the workplace, there'll always be people who are comfortable with their own voices. So now imagine me trying to explain that to my grandfather in terms of, I do allow my children to say maybe they don't want to wash dishes now, they will wash them a little bit later. So that becomes a kind of a bit of a tricky. But being able to have those conversations with our parents and hopefully with the extended family to just say, listen, there's certain things that we do. And then also with our own children to say, listen, maybe when it comes to certain things, we must just understand that when we are in that environment with the extended family, this is what we're going to try. I'm not saying your child should eat, say, iskopo if they don't necessarily like it, right? But there's certain things that we'll do. Let's say if we're at the villages, for instance, where they'll eat in a bigger. The boys will eat together. There's like a beautiful cultural and social benefit that happens in those ways. So you kind of have to weigh out the different contexts and be able to stand up for your children when they tell you, listen, I'm not comfortable with that. So I think the most important thing for me with all of that, because there's always going to be so many different dynamics, is while everything is happening, always stay responsive to what your kids are then saying, so that if they say, listen, I don't want to do this and I feel strongly that I don't want to do this, then you have to then navigate that and say, okay, maybe in terms of this I must step in and I must be a little bit more supportive in a different way.
And I'm also just thinking about the fact that some things you actually have to communicate blatantly. For example, when it comes to visits and things like that, and we know times have changed, it's not quite the same as what it was before, but how would you advise the conversation of discipline should come up when it comes to your child in other people's homes and in your own home around extended family that are adults and elders?
Oh, that's interesting. The whole spare the road one.
Yep.
Because it's also a little bit of that whole modern science where we're speaking to. And a lot of people who say, hey, I got a hiding and look, I turned out to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I want to be like, you did not. You're a terrible person to be around.
Right? So you're obviously going to be navigating that, and you want to show that, listen, even though you may not be hitting your children, it's obviously also illegal to do, in terms of inputting things like accountability, responsibility, consistency, whatever the chores, whatever's expected of them, that you maybe are very intentional about that. But I would be very intentional about having those conversations to say, my children, nobody is allowed to do that when it comes to them. And maybe then just communicating and educating some of our parents. I mean, in the villages, some of our families do things completely different in terms of just the cultural differences. So it's going to be a whole experience for our children as well to see how things are done. But hopefully there's a bit of a cultural exchange where you can educate them to say, listen, this is how I discipline my children. Yes, maybe they did something wrong, but I will hold them accountable and they will be responsible for their actions. It's just that I do not physically harm them in that way. And maybe you can educate them about the importance and the difference between punishment and discipline.
Yes.
And I would give a whole conversation about that and why it really matters in terms of just the long term, our children's self-worth and how they see themselves in future, and just removing this idea of violence in terms of how our kids respond to issues or challenges in their lives.
All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we continue in our Parenting and Parents feature where we are talking about managing extended family dynamics when it comes to raising your child and how you raise them, and that means 0 to 18. Children visit people, children have family members coming to stay, sometimes for even extended periods of at a time, and then one needs to be having some difficult conversations. Audible 188307002 and the WhatsApp line 0727021702.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
What were some of the main takeaways for you from COP30?
One of the takeaways for us, basically around the COP30, was that the conference managed to agree on certain things. Number one, the forest finance was actually basically one of the things that was agreed upon. It talks about the long-term reliable finance for the countries to protect their forests.
Thabo Sibeko is a programs manager at EarthLife Africa. Reflections on the COP30, which was held in Belém in Brazil, concluding on Saturday.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Selling your vehicle has never been easier. We Buy Cars goes above and beyond to make the process simple, quick, and rewarding, helping you get the best price with zero hassle. Get a great offer for your car, bike, boat, or bakkie in just a few clicks. Just complete the form on webuycars.co.za and get your offer today. Or if you're looking to trade in or buy your next ride, you can choose from over 12,000 vehicles online or visit your nearest We Buy Cars branch or pod. With a wide range of vehicles and flexible insurance, finance, and cover options, you're guaranteed to drive away smiling. Whether you're buying or selling, We Buy Cars makes it easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or any We Buy Cars branch or pod today.
Get online exclusive Black Friday deals for 3 days only at Pick and Pay ASAP and Mr. D. Get 200-gram Nescafe Gold instant coffee or 230-gram refill for only 140 Rand each. And 600-gram Parmalat cheese for only 84 Rand 99. Shop like a champion. Save like a champion. Only on Pick and Pay ASAP and Mr. D. Valid 24 to 26 November while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
One of the most important gatherings in SA's local government calendar is here. The 2025 Salga National Members Assembly, 25 to 27 November at the Durban ICC. Catch the Clement Manyatela Show live from the National Members Assembly this Wednesday as we take you inside the conversations shaping the future of our municipalities. Don't miss all the expert insights, high-level discussions, and the voices of leaders committed to delivering better services to communities across the country. That's the Clement Manyatela Show, live from the 2025 Salga National Members Assembly, this Wednesday on 702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
21 minutes after 2 o'clock, and we continue in our parenting and parents feature, where we're having a conversation around managing extended family dynamics while you're obviously raising your children your way. 011 883 702 in the WhatsApp line, 072 702 1702. We're chatting to Ayanda Tetiana, family therapist and behavioral science consultant. Ayanda, I'm just thinking about the fact that we are also in this era where we are very acutely aware of what toxicity, manipulation, and all of these things look like. And we are not hesitating like maybe generations before us did with cutting family members off. So from your perspective, what would you say what the questions should be that a person asks themselves as to when it is time to call it quits? And I'm going to use a very extreme example. For example, there are many families that have that uncle where everybody's been told you're not allowed to wear short skirts around that specific uncle, where in my view, I'm like, everybody that has ever said you can't dress like this in front of that uncle instead of getting rid of that uncle will never be allowed near my child.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one is a tricky one, and it has to do a lot with you and your individual values and obviously wanting to protect your children. And I think it's so important that, we kind of move away from the whole family dynamics of wanting to put skeletons in closets and hide them, because in that way we actually don't get help. In that way we deny children who may have been molested or treated in a certain way. I'm also thinking about issues where maybe there's favoritism, unequal treatment. A lot of us, we would have endured while we were feeling misaligned and we were feeling like, you're not necessarily the favorite, but you're still bringing home all the whatever monies are expected, all of the contributions that are expected. It's so important that you get to a point where you speak out about things that are important to you in your family. I mean, when we talk about it being a social investment and a rich social investment, it's because every single one of us then has an investment in it. But if you're feeling like your feelings are not being met, whatever you're putting in is not being brought back, that's where then you have to decide, is this a safe space? is this something I want to show my children? You can actually be treated this way. And because it's family, it's okay. You want to move away from those kind of stereotypes and be very intentional. I always say to my parents who are going through really hard times in terms of toxic type of families to say, you then as a parent, model to your children what is the right way you treat me by putting your foot down and still having a respectful way of saying, maybe have the meeting with your uncles, depending on how it works in your family and your cultural context. And by doing something as little as that, whether it ends up as you separating from the family or not, you're showing your children, listen, maybe family is very important to me, but in the instance where this and this in terms of my needs was not met, I was willing to walk away. I'll never advocate for people to want to walk away from their families, but in instances where it compromises you in any way, instances where you were in situations where you were traumatized, somebody perpetrated some serious pain on you, you should be able to protect yourself, and you definitely want to be able to protect your children. That's literally your first and foremost right.
I so love what you said about the message truly landing for your children based on what they see you allowing and not allowing. And we do hear of those stories where children grow up and are able to say, but why do we still visit these people if they speak badly about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the beautiful thing about how I see us in terms of how we've raised our children compared to how we've been raised is that our children are a little bit more daring. So in many instances, they'll even ask you and question you in terms of your behavior as a parent, be like, but why do I have to do that?
Yep.
You told me a history of maybe uncle or your aunt doing 1, 2, 3, and then you expect me to greet and respect that aunt. And sometimes maybe it's a learning curve for us to say, really, are we, in terms of modeling, are we saying that's okay? Are we saying to our children, if someone treats you like that, you must then welcome them into your house and be okay to say, you'll sleep in the same yard, but I must just lock my daughter's rooms and put sensors.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. And the word that's coming to mind is boundaries and or the words rather. Can you chat to us about boundaries, but also consequences? Because it's one thing to lay down the law. It's another thing to now put it into action in the sense of, if you swear in front of my child again, or if you take, my child without the car seat, whatever it is, and consequences. Can you chat to us a little bit about that?
So that's always going to be tricky because my values may be a little bit more stern in terms of certain things. The next parent may not necessarily say, let's say my sister or my the person who comes into my life as a step parent. Maybe they don't necessarily think it's as important maybe to not smoke in front of our children. This is where, and this is something that's important to me, and they are my partner. This is where it's so important now to start being able to have conversations and be clear in terms of boundaries. And in terms of even your extended family, being able to say, listen, maybe I appreciate your help, but when it comes to this, it's non-negotiable. And I'm talking things like your bedtime, your screen time. Once there's a little bit of a discord between what's done in my home, where my children go for holidays to the sister, or where they go to their stepmom, the children are actually going to use that to their advantage, and they're going to love the chaos, and then when they like, they're going to manipulate everyone. It's really important that we are all singing the same song. In many instances, unfortunately, we're not. So if you're able to share routines, speak about things like, for instance, in my home, it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy. Everybody has a shared contribution.
Yes.
And this is where I'm saying, more than anything else, I hope that by coming to this time of the year, we can take it more of as a curiosity and an open-mindedness, so that when cousin Mang Mang comes over, maybe learn from them instead of necessarily having that mental attitude of saying, no, I don't like everything. This is how we do things only. Because there is this social capital, which is the most beautiful thing that we get from anything that has to do with family. The fact that we are born and we have maternal family, paternal family, I mean, think about it really. How many things have you learned from your different experiences across the different family members that you've had? There's that beautiful benefit that you could have, but you also want to be guarded around it. So in terms of just the type of language, the expectations, we need to constantly be communicating. We need to be respecting each other's boundaries. If my children don't eat Diet Coke, they don't drink cold drinks, and they don't drink certain types of food, once they come to your home, be intentional about respecting me and doing that, and so that when you bring yours to my house, I can say, okay, maybe I'm a mom who curses every here and then, but I will respect the fact that you don't as well.
There's a WhatsApp message saying, I will smack your child when he or she jumps on my sofa with shoes. Unfortunately for you that sent that message, the parent will then also have the right to call the po-po on you, because it is against the law. But yes, it is a tricky one. If any of you would like to get in touch with Ayanda, her website is ayandatetiana.co.za. That's Ayanda Tetiana with a Y.co.za. Ayanda, thank you so much for your time. It's 2:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Emergency service teams in KZN have raised concern over the impact that more rainfall will have on ongoing search operations. The rescue teams have had their hands full dealing with the aftermath of severe flooding in New Hanover. Teams have been in the area since the early hours of this morning, searching for 3 people who were swept away by the floods. NPA boss Relebogile has been pressed by the panel hearing the inquiry into Joburg prosecution's head Andrew Chauke to back her allegations against him. Batoyi is back on the witness stand in Pretoria today. That inquiry is investigating allegations by Batoyi that Chauke made politically motivated prosecutorial decisions. And the corruption case involving a Hawks officer and a Tembisa Hospital employee has been postponed to next week. The two appeared in the Pretoria Magistrates Court after they were arrested yesterday. It's alleged that they tried to bribe a Hawks officer who is investigating corruption at the health facility to avoid being prosecuted. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour in Bedfordview, travelling towards Germiston, you can expect about a 30-minute delay on the N3 southbound from the Gilulis interchange all the way to Geldenes due to an earlier accident. Calvin Alex roadwork still slowing down traffic on the N3 in both directions between the Butlu interchange and London Road. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Linksfield at Linksfield Road and the N3. Traffic lights still not working in Edenville at Morafontein Road and Van Riebeck. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Part of the 702 family.
My name is Iwet Machinya Tsimbi. I'm from Deep Blue Phase 3. I've listened to 702 since 1980, when it was still Channel 702, when it was still a music radio station. Till today, I still listen to this station. I get the information from this station. I get empowered. I get to be informative. Thank you, 702, and keep on rocking.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Clear your weekend. The luxury sale of the season is here. Head down to the Gallagher Black Friday sale this weekend and score luxury fashion at unbeatable prices. Shop Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger jeans, sneakers, accessories and more. Visit the Gallagher Black Friday sale from Thursday, the 27th of November to Sunday, the 30th of November at the Gallagher Convention Centre in Midrand. First come, first to style.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Live your best hoop life with Hollywood Bets. Bring your big game energy to the court as we welcome a thrilling new NBA season. Bet 50 Rand or more on any basketball fixture, and you could score a share of 250,000 Rand in cash or an epic NBA shopping spree. Bounce into blistering action. Your ultimate slam dunk moment awaits. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
You know what success looks like. Now discover why focus is the driving force behind every success story. Catch 702 in conversation with Momentum on The Money Show with Stephen Krutters every Thursday, discussing the science of success. Step into the mindset of top financial achievers and discover how your thinking, behavior, and focus can shape lasting financial success. That's 702 in conversation with Momentum. Thursdays on The Money Show with Stephen Krutters. Momentum, your journey to success on 702. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John, how are you doing?
Doing well, thanks. And you, good afternoon to all of our listeners.
Listen, I'm pretty sure the weekend was very, very busy. And I see Abel is still holding on strong after a very busy weekend at the G20.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting, really intense, and long hours and quite a bit of driving, I have to say, to get in and out with all the road closures. But yeah, great experience. I'm glad we did it.
And I must say, this weekend of all weekends, I was feeling so proud to be South African.
Yeah.
Not just with our team playing, but also just how, the tactics that were trying to be used by the US. And Cyril was just like, I'm going to stay focused. But I want to share this analogy. Somebody said, an American person was saying South Africa continued after this whole thing. And they kind of are treating the US/Donald Trump like that old grumpy grandfather who's still stuck in the olden days. And when he makes that racist comment or whatever, they just continue the dinner like he doesn't, not like they don't exist, but like they don't care anymore what the person has to say. And I was wondering, do you think the world is at that place now where they're just keeping it moving?
So I'm not sure about the analogy with the grandfather, but because, this is a man in charge of a massively powerful country,
Yep.
and he's an extremely powerful individual in his own right. But I think what it did signal is that, yes, I think people are saying, okay, there are limits and there are lines. And I think different countries took a stand perhaps for different reasons. Obviously, the focus was on our president because we're the hosts and we held until yesterday the presidency. But I think there were a lot of players in this space. And a lot of the other countries, I think, perhaps should get some credit as well for helping to hold the line. But I think what they're basically saying is we want to go about things in a world where actually multilateral organizations, i.e. groups like the G20, the UN and so on, matter. And no single country is going to dominate them.
And I absolutely love that. The more at the table, the better. That's the only way we're going to solve the many issues that we are facing in the world. What's coming up on your show today?
So I made a story today. Actually came out of an experience my colleague Kabazela had during the show. Somebody phoned him purporting to be from a debt restructuring company. Big scam in the way he was treated. But when we chatted to Maya Fisher-French, who is a well-known person on personal finance, she said this is happening all the time. So we're going to explain to people exactly how this abuse worked, and then we're going to find out what's being done about it. And the picture I'm getting at the moment is nothing. which is pretty alarming. We'll do that after 4 o'clock. Forensic nurses, it's not even a position I knew much about until I read a story about the crucial role that they play in helping GBV victims to actually prepare, first of all, deal with the trauma that they're facing, but secondly, prepare themselves for criminal procedures that may follow. And those posts are getting cut. So on the one hand, we've got yesterday, or rather on Friday, national state of disaster around GBV, but where it really matters in the architecture and the resources are the right things being done. We'll talk about that at 10 to 5. Plenty of other things coming up, including, we're going to ask this question. Many people would have known that there were lots of foreigners in South Africa over the last couple of weeks, months, and even arguably the whole year. If you're meeting someone from outside South Africa and you're telling them, you're introducing them to Amapiano,
yes,
what is the song you would play to get them hooked?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Yeah, phone in.
To ask. I will definitely be listening in. I would say they must listen to anything from Uncle Waffles. She's international. She's doing a great job. That's where I'm going to leave it for now.
It's a good start.
Do you listen to Amapiano?
No, I think when I hear it, I like it, but I haven't
Yes.
gone in search of it, no.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to that one with John Pullman hosting 702 Drive from 3 to 6 p.m.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
Time for The Naked Scientist with Dr. Chris Smith. Your calls on 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Doctor, happy Monday. Are you well?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Do you know what? I've just read a really exciting science story as I was
Yes.
listening to you and John chatting away. And scientists have sent moss into space and shown that it's really tough. They actually put moss on the outside of the International Space Station, admittedly within a tube, so it wasn't in a vacuum, but it was outside the ISS, exposed to all the radiation that's there. And they did that for 9 months. And then they brought the moss babies back to Earth and grew them, and 80% of them grew. So these are effectively the spores, the sporophytes that moss uses to plant new moss. And it seems that it's really tough and hardy and can withstand enormously intense ultraviolet, which is what you get up there in space. And so this sort of shows us how these sorts of plants can and do survive in extreme environments. It also perhaps points to how mosses were the first things to invade the land when life moved out of the oceans and onto the land about 450, 500 million years ago. Mosses were the first things to do that. This is perhaps because they were so resilient. But it also opens the door to understanding better how we can grow things in foreign places and foreign planets even, by understanding this biology. I just thought that was extraordinary that someone put moss on the International Space Station and brought it back, and 9 months later it was still alive.
The fact that somebody even thought about it, that is absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing that with us. All right, we go to the lines 072702 and 702 for your WhatsApp messages. Hi, Dr. Chris and Relebogile. What are the effects of eating carnivorous animal meat products in the human body? Long-term, example, lion, crocodile, or hyena. This is from Hola in Ekurhuleni.
Hi, Hola. Well, the answer is that meat is meat. It's a protein, and an animal that's eaten other meat to make its protein, assuming the other meat is healthy, the animal's body has processed, dismantled its diet into its building blocks of amino acids, brought those inside the body, and then reassembled them into its own protein, its own muscle, that we then eat. So if there's no other problem with what the animal is eating, there's no problem with us eating that animal. And meat is effectively therefore meat. But not all meats are made equal. Remember that there's dark meat and there's a lighter meat. The darker meats, the red meats, tend to be higher in fat. They tend to be higher in saturated fat, and they tend to therefore be regarded as less healthy for you than whiter, leaner meats, like, for instance, chicken, paler meat. But all things being equal, meat is meat. Protein is protein, and it can form part of a healthy diet. If you ate it exclusively, didn't eat anything else, that wouldn't be good. If you didn't have any meat at all, you have a higher risk of developing protein deficiencies, but also especially iron deficiencies, because we get a lot of our iron from the meat that we eat. So part of a balanced diet shouldn't be a problem at all.
Actually, something you just said there made me think about something, Doc. There's a trend of people, I'm not sure if you've seen this, where they go on what I don't know if they call it a carnivore diet, but what the diet is they only eat red meat and eggs in different shapes and forms. And some of them will talk about how their hormones are balanced out, they're not breaking out, they've lost weight. And to me, I thought that is really odd if that is all you are eating. So no vegetables, no fruits. I don't know if you've heard of any studies or research on that, but why are people claiming that they feel so much better, they don't have bloating, but all they are eating are eggs in different ways, be it fried or boiled, and red meat?
Well, to take another food analogy, I think they're nuts. This doesn't sound like a healthy diet whatsoever. A healthy diet is a balanced diet. We have evolved over millions of years to extract all the micronutrients we need and to live healthily when we eat a healthy diet. And that means a balanced diet that is replete with representation of all the main food groups. You need some carbohydrates, you need some protein, and you need some fats. And you need all those things because all of those are essential to your body. There are certain fats that we can't make in our body. We can't survive without proteins because there are some amino acids which we need to make our proteins, which we can't make in our body. So if you don't eat a source of those amino acids in the form of protein of some description, you're going to be less well off. And carbohydrates are really important for giving us sustained energy release in the form of starches, but also an instant sugar fix when we need energy in a hurry. That's where the sugars come in. So if you eat a balance of all of those things, where about half your energy comes from fat, about a third comes from proteins, and the rest from carbs, then that's absolutely fine. And most people do very well on that sort of diet. If you start eliminating food groups on no evidence base whatsoever, just because you read it in a book or it sounds good, you might insist that it's making you feel better because of some kind of placebo effect, but I guarantee this is not good for your physiology or your biochemistry, and there will be long-term health consequences. A balanced diet with all the main representatives, and especially plenty of soluble fibre, is really important for bowel and microbiome health. And if you don't have a good amount of fruit and vegetables, which provides a lot of that soluble fibre and the other micronutrients that select for those microbes, you are going to have less good bowel bacterial health, and that has knock-on consequences for your general health.
All right, thank you so much. David from Pretoria, go ahead.
Hi, Relebogile. Hi, Dr. Smith. Doctor, I'd like to ask, so I'm a long-distance runner, and I'm someone who tries and keep healthy, and I try and avoid eating sugary stuff and taking fizzy drinks. I just want to find out, however, on long runs, like when you're doing very long runs for like 2 or 3 hours, we then end up taking sugar and cold drink. I just want to find out, is that bad or is that fine? Is it good if you are doing long runs?
Hi, David. What do you call a long run? I mean, do you do it by time or are you actually going by distance?
So both. So we sometimes do marathons, sometimes to go for 50 kilometers. So we do very long distances and we run up to 5-6 hours at times.
That's amazing, especially if you're doing 50 kilometres in 5 hours. Wow, you certainly beat me. I managed to do a half marathon in the time. I knew I shouldn't be a runner, right? When I watched the guys doing the London Marathon, usually it's Eritreans and Ethiopians, and I watched them finish the whole London Marathon in the time it takes me to do half a marathon. I don't think I'm set up to be a runner. But the bottom line is that when you're running, when you're physically very active, your body is using enormous amounts of energy. Now, when you train to do long distance exercise, you become really good at liberating calories from a range of sources. And this includes carbohydrates and glycogen, because the first thing that your body does when it wants to obtain energy quickly is it goes for glucose. And glucose is stored in the body in the form of glycogen. The liver stores a lot of glycogen, which is a big polymer. It looks like a snowflake of glucose molecules stuck together. Snowflake because you can easily, wherever you start, chip off loads of molecules all over the place really quickly, big sugar rush. And then the liver exports that sugar into the bloodstream. But muscles also store huge amounts of glycogen. And so when you start exercising, the first thing your body does is to go for its glycogen. Thank you very much. I'll use that as an energy source. Once that's depleted, which once you're doing a lot of exercise for a long period of time, that is going to disappear. You will start to liberate more glucose from other sources like the liver, but you will also start to burn off fats because you will start to mobilize fats in the form of fatty acids, which are taken up by active respiring muscle, and they will burn as well. And so if you need to supplement the energy supply when you're running and you take some sugar, that is absolutely fine, because what's going to happen is glucose and small sugar molecules are really rapidly absorbed. The intestine is brilliant at picking them up. They go straight into the bloodstream, and your body will be actively trying to scavenge glucose out of the blood to put into the muscles, because muscles will upregulate the transporters that pull glucose in when they are trained and when they're very active. So that glucose is immediately going to go where it's needed, and it will immediately be burned to help you keep on exercising. So an active sportsman or woman should not worry about taking some extra sugar when they're active, because that glucose is instantly going to get used. The problem comes with high glucose intake when we are not doing very much. We suddenly eat a lot of sugar or drink a lot of sugar, and what happens is that the bloodstream sees a big spike in sugar, and the tissues don't need that big spike in sugar. So the body says, we better do something with this sugar. So it then releases a big surge of insulin. The insulin turns the sugar into a form that goes into our cells and turns into fat, because you're not consuming it actively. And that's how you end up putting on weight, because you end up with a big surge in sugar, big surge in insulin, that turns into fat, puts down your blood sugar, and then you feel hungry again. So what do? Reach for more sugary snacks, and the cycle perpetuates. And that's why a sugary diet, fizzy drinks and so on, tends to translate into weight gain if you are not physically active and consuming the sugar when you need it.
Thank you so much, David, for that question. All the best on your long distance running. All right, another question that has come through says, Doctor, why is it that when we weigh ourselves in the morning, when we wake up, we always weigh less than the previous night, even if we never go to the loo? That's from Musa Mawale from Mafefe. So that's Musa.
Hello, Musa. The answer is that although you have gone to sleep and not gone to the loo, you haven't switched off your metabolism. You are still breathing as well. And two things happen. When we're metabolizing, we are burning fuel in the body, which is either the sugars we were just talking about, or fats, or both. And when you burn something, you turn it into carbon dioxide. So the carbon in the fuel, the sugar, is just carbon molecules. Fat is lots of carbon molecules. When you burn those with the oxygen you breathe in, you actually turn it into CO2, carbon dioxide. Where does that go? Well, you breathe it out. So in the same way that when you fill your car with fuel and the fuel tank weighs something, you take that liquid, the car runs until the tank is empty, the car now weighs less because it's chucked all of the carbon that was in the tank in the form of fuel out of the exhaust pipe in the form of CO2. So you will lose weight just by burning the fuel inside your body. The other thing that happens is that when you're sleeping, you're breathing. And when we're breathing, as you know, on a cold day, you're breathing out water vapor, because all of the respiratory surfaces inside your body, from the ends of your airways down your lungs, right up back of your throat, through your nose, they're all moist. They're covered in a film of water. And as the air comes out, it comes out saturated with water from your body, and that weighs something. And if you measure, the average person breathes out about half a litre of water every day. So if you spend 8 hours asleep, then that's about a third of the day. So that's about a third of half a litre, which is about a sixth of a litre, which is a couple of 100 grams straight away. So when you add all those effects together, both metabolizing sugars and other fuels and breathing out water, that is why the average person you would expect would lose weight overnight, assuming they don't just go to the loo or wet the bed.
Thank you so much for that question. Good afternoon, Relebogile. Please ask about mental health effects of using Chat GPT for long periods.
Well, this was a story recently, wasn't it? And we've seen a couple of people who have been quite involved in the AI industry are saying that this is the stuff of nightmares and it keeps them up at night. And we've had cases where people are actually mounting lawsuits against some of these large language model platforms because they're arguing that the advice they received or the relationships they formed with these systems led to a state of mental ill health, either because it made them develop delusions, or it made them very depressed, or it made them do things that they would otherwise not have done, such as self-harm. So there is a very big concern about this. And the other big concern is that people tend to develop relationships with these machines, which, quite frankly, the machine doesn't care about you because it has no feelings. And people are replacing these sorts of platforms. Their friends are being replaced by these sorts of platforms. So instead of healthy social interactions, which have restorative effects on so many levels, when you're engaging with another person, it's very, very beneficial for your well-being. It's a support network. It helps you when you need help. The computer doesn't care. And people are substituting their real friends for these electronic so-called friends. And it probably is a recipe for ill health in the long term in a range of different ways. So many people are concerned about this, and it's an active area of research. But obviously it's very early days, and research comes from data, and data is what is being collected at the moment. I should more accurately say data are what are being collected at the moment. So it's early days, but there is early indications that this could have problems in store if we're not careful.
All right, let us see if we can get to the last one. Dr. Smith, I've been working from home for the past 5 years, so I don't come into contact with my colleagues' germs anymore. Over the past 6 months, I've started developing flu-like symptoms, muscle and joint pain each time I go to the shopping center or when I'm around crowds. Am I allergic to people?
Quite possibly. I mean, what we have seen is because of what happened during the pandemic, many of the manoeuvres and measures that were put in place, they're called non-pharmaceutical interventions, NPIs, things like social distancing, self-isolation, wearing face coverings, not going out, all those sorts of things led to a disruption in the pattern of diseases that we would normally catch. The average adult catches 2 or 3 fresh new virus infections every single year, or did. This has the effect of topping up our immunity. And what we saw because of this, the disruption to the world population of COVID interventions, where we stopped the circulation of many of these things, as well as individuals taking steps to not catch things, has meant that many people have not had the normal pattern of exposure to the normal things that they previously had. This has led to a lower level of underlying immunity in those people. So people are catching things clinically that they would previously have brushed off. Let me explain. When I ask people in wintertime, have you had the flu this year? You'll get people who say yes, people who say no. If you ask the people who say no to do a blood test, you can show that half the time they actually had the flu without realising it because they had underlying immunity. But if you don't expose them to a flu for a few years, that underlying immunity slowly dwindles and the flu changes. So when they next catch flu, they don't have it asymptomatically. They know all about it. And we think this is happening to an extent in people all over the world. They distanced themselves, they didn't catch stuff for a number of years or for a couple of seasons. Their underlying immunity was not refreshed. So now people are catching things again, and they're catching them often all at once, which makes them feel doubly bad. So there is a price to be paid for that couple of years of respite we had over COVID when we didn't catch as many things as we would do normally. Now it's catch-up time, and some people are getting caught out and not feeling too good.
All right, that's all we have time for, Dr. Chris Smith. As much as I love spending time with you, we have to say goodbye.
Oh, it's mutual. But we'll see each other next week, won't we?
We'll see each other next week.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
If you want a versatile SUV that's smart, efficient, and seriously advanced, meet the all-new BYD Celion 5 plug-in hybrid. It's the affordable SUV that gives electric power for your everyday trips, fuel-powered backup for your longer drives, and premium tech everywhere you look. The BYD Celion 5 is packed with cutting-edge technology, from advanced driver assist safety features to the groundbreaking DMI technology. The BYD Celion 5 makes every drive smarter. Visit www.byd.com and pre-book your test drive today. BYD, build your dreams.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
If you have any questions for the Naked Scientists and we don't get to them, or you think about them during the week, you can use the show's email address. Our WhatsApp line only works for the shows that are on air at the time. So the email address is 702afternoons@702.co.za. That is 702afternoons@702.co.za. And then you're able not only to send through your science-related questions to be included, because we do keep them for when we meet up with Dr. Chris Smith on a Monday, but you can also get your other topics in that you'd like us to tackle in Masterclass or Series Edition or even our Belief Matters feature. Thank you for joining us. John Pullman is up next on the Afternoon Drive Show. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
More rain expected in KZN as search for 2 missing people continues. And Shamila Batoye pressed by panel at the Nkabinde inquiry. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini.